Armand here with your forecast for the week of October 8th, 2023. This is the forecast. This is the one you wanted to see. This is the big week of October. It is one of the biggest weeks astrologically of 2023. And you're saying to yourself, but Armand, what about all that stuff that happened last week and the week before and all of that type of thing? It's true. It's true. This week has got a special flavor to it that we're going to want to pay attention to. And you know, I'm not the doom and gloom astrologer. I'm not the one that's going to tell you to go hide under your bed. This week is going to pack a punch, and we'll discuss it and then we'll strategize about it, because I think you want to strategize about this week before you get there, before you get too deep into it. And if you're watching this a little bit later in the week, still time to make changes, still time to strategize. So here's my analogy for this week. Imagine you're going down the highway and there's a car next to you and that's got a flat tire, but the driver keeps going. They keep stepping on the gas. They're not stopping, right? It's a flat tire. You should pull over to the side, but they're not. And eventually the tire comes off and they're just driving on the rim, and you get that awful screechy noise and there's sparks flying off of it. They don't stop. And then, well, we don't really find out what happens. You know, I mean, they're probably going slower than you, so you go ahead, but you'll find out sooner or later. Probably at the full moon lunar eclipse later this month, if not beforehand, because there's going to be, for the rest of October, there's going to be some release aspects to this week's tension. So let's look at this thing that we have going on here. Let me describe. Why is this that I'm saying that there's a driver who refuses to stop even though they have a flat tire? The answer to that is that there is a driven quality to this week, this sort of unrelenting, not letting go quality that is very strong this week. And in all four of the major aspects that are happening this week, we have that driven, unrelenting quality. That's the first thing. There's tension. There's tension. Like when you're driving on the rim. Don't drive on the rim. It's like when you're driving when somebody's driving on the rim and the metal is scraping against the pavement, and you get the awful screechy sound and you get the sparks flying. That means, stepping away from our analogy for a minute, that there's tension, and while there is not really release this week, there's still going to be things that fly out. You know, there's going to be awful sounds and there's going to be sparks flying in some areas. It's not really a full release, but it is a measured release of energy, let's call it, right? In more mundane terms, lots of folks are going to be kind of pissy this week, right? Not you, but some folks are going to be kind of pissy this week. And the energy of this week will really, you know, those folks that tend towards the cranky are really going to have a lot of opportunities. And then, as I said, you don't really know where the major release is. We have to wait for that in the future. We have to wait till the car catches up with us in the future. So we'll wait and see what happens. No, we will create the best possible scenario out of what we have to deal with. Let's talk about the aspects more specifically. We start and it's an every other day thing this week too. It's an every other day thing, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And that means very similar energies on all four aspects. It's like one big schmear from really Friday the 6th, when the moon was in Cancer, through Saturday the 7th, and then we start on the 8th with Mars square Pluto. Now, Mars square Pluto, these two planets kind of get along. They're the co-rulers of Scorpio. They have sort of similar energies, but they're in a square relationship, so they're not getting along too well. And these are not planets that have a hard time not getting along anyway. Pluto is in Capricorn. Maybe that speaks to some of the stuff that's going on in the collective. I mean, certainly on the collective level it is, but maybe even some of the stuff that's happening on the collective is having an impact on us on a more personal level. Now, Mars-Pluto would be a release kind of aspect, generally speaking. Mars-Pluto, even a closing square as Mars approaches Pluto in a square aspect, is liable to be a release aspect, except for the fact that Mars is in Libra, where it's not so aggressive an energy. It's more like a passive aggressive energy, which is, never complimentary to anyone. So this is the kind of, there's tension, we feel things aren't working, the terse memo comes out, the nasty email, something along those lines. We're sort of still officially following protocol. If Mars was in Aries, maybe, just go do something unfortunate. But Mars is in Libra, so probably going to follow through on protocol, but still get a little dig in there. A little, again, that's a spark, or that's a little screech of the metal on asphalt that we'll be feeling. Then on Tuesday, we have Pluto station to go direct, ending his retrograde. This is a very implosive aspect, and we would be feeling this energy from Sunday through Wednesday or so, even if we didn't have all the other things going on. Pluto stations, they pull the energy inward, and then they want to push it out again as soon as at the first opportunity. On the collective level, we're likely to see that the energy, in fact, does get pushed out there. There's enough of an indication for a release, among other things. In 2008, when Pluto stationed to go direct in September of that year, that corresponded to the day with the beginning of the financial crisis and the economic problems that we had. And I don't think we're going to get there again, not this year anyway. This is very close to the US Pluto. We are, potentially, but potentially we could be in some real trouble. It probably wouldn't release on the day, October 10th itself, but on the other side of the story, it might. We'll have to wait and see. This is the collective where we don't have much of a choice. This is where the average, the average of everybody comes in, the sort of the groupthink aspect of things. So we might have some stuff going on in the collective right around midweek. But like in our personal lives, lots of tension, lots of, who's in control, don't do that. What are you doing? Don't do that. A lot of that sort of stuff you'll be hearing. Probably not directed at you, not coming from you. Of course, you're way above that kind of thing. But there is that sort of energy, and you don't want anybody to control you. This is like a hard day at work for a lot of folks because you don't want to be told what to do on a Pluto station. You might want to tell others what to do, which of course, that sort of feeds the problem in there. So we have that sort of intense energy at midweek. Everything seems so freaking important. That's a Pluto station for you. Everything seems so freaking important. On Thursday, we have the gentlest aspect of the week. We have Mars moving into his home sign of Scorpio. But that's a good thing, you say, because he's in his home sign of Scorpio. He's out of Libra, although, before Thursday, he's at the end of Libra, where he's, the more, and I'm not saying this about Libra, I'm saying about Mars in Libra, encourages a sort of passive-aggressive approach. If Pluto doesn't make it just aggressive. Then Mars goes into Scorpio. And in Scorpio, the cosmic warrior plays defense. Like, this is not in Aries, he's out there charging forward to conquer new territory. In Scorpio, now he's up on the battlements defending the castle. And at 0 degrees Scorpio, in the midst of all the other things that are going on this week, I'm guessing he's going to be very, very ready to let the arrows fly as soon as he sees anything on the horizon. In other words, too much reactivity from Mars. Mars square Pluto, reactive. Pluto station, reactive. Mars at the very beginning of Scorpio, reactive. And then on Saturday, we have the solar eclipse in Libra. And a solar eclipse is always going to be, it's almost exactly like the Pluto station. It's an implosive energy. It's a powerful beginning. It's a powerful beginning. It happens right at 21 degrees of Libra. If you have something at 21 degrees of Libra, if your sun is there, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. If your ascendant is there, whatever planet is right there Go watch my video on eclipses to get the full story on this, but it's got to be right there, right there, not nearby, not nearby. That's, that's lightning striking the tree on your neighbor's house. We're looking right there at 21 degrees of Libra. You're looking at getting to you. But for everybody, we feel the energy. Again, it's a solar eclipse. It's an implosive energy. We're pulling in. We know we're going someplace in the future. We know this is the beginning of something that's going to go into the future, but we don't really know what it is. It's too early to tell. New moons, new beginnings in general, endings and beginnings, whole new cycle. A solar eclipse, an extra powerful cycle, pulls us inward. And I keep saying it, the energy pulls us inward this week. Okay, so let's say you don't want to make a complete hash out of everything. You don't want to make an ass out of yourself. How are you handling this week? Well, a couple of things. First of all, give yourself and everybody else the space and the time that they need, right? Don't make a lot of demands on people, and sort of slough off as many of the demands that are on you as possible. This is a great week for taking care of business as usual. This is a great week for just kind of going through the routine. You get your cup of coffee. It's a nice cup of coffee. Hopefully it's a nice cup of coffee. And you go about your business. Not necessarily the best time to strive upwards, not necessarily the best time for exploration and experimentation. A little bit is fine. You don't go hide under your bed. This is not telling you to go hide under your bed, but it's not a great time for moving too far from your comfort zone. Even if you're going to go a little far from your comfort zone, don't go too far. You don't want to challenge yourself all that much when it comes to dealing with the external world, because you're going to be challenged enough from inside. So, you kind of want to hang around your comfort zone in whatever that is. That's one thing. So give others space. Think about your comfort zone and finding ways to sort of stay near to it. It would be a great time to meditate. I would say this is being a really good time, for taking a nice long walk in the woods or any kind of meditation that you want to do. It'd be great for meditation on compassion, because there's probably going to be a great need for compassion this week. I wouldn't think it was the best week for, let's say psychedelic or holotropic breath work and stuff like that. I mean, maybe if you're really up for having a really powerful and intense experience, maybe really get through some stuff, but it's not going to be a whole ton of fun, I wouldn't think. There's a great creative potential to this week, and you want to think soul, right? This isn't worrying so much about the external manifestations. This is much more working towards finding like the real core soul of what you're trying to do, what you want to express from deep within. And that solar eclipse in Libra, it is the sign of art. So, eventually it will wind up being something that you can sort of externalize. But right now you're looking towards that immediate core. It'd be a great time to get some paints or some clay or whatever the thing that you do is, or your guitar or your piano, and just do it. Just let it all pour out of you without really worrying what it looks like and how others would appreciate it. That this is not the so it's Libra season, but this is not the time for that. Okay, so we have a few ideas here of what is going to give coloring to the week. You won't notice it much, but Venus, who has now cleared the shadow of her retrograde, you have Saturday the 7th, you have Venus in Leo at the very end of Leo. And if it wasn't for all this other stuff, that might be kind of fun. And then Venus tiptoes into Virgo on Sunday, completely overshadowed by the Mars Pluto thing. The next few weeks when Venus is in Virgo, it's not other astrologers tell you it's so bad. It's not so bad, but let's think about this as being a time when we might want to be a little bit more reserved with socializing. This is not the big indulgent dinner. This is not. This is more going to the health food store and picking out some healthy alternatives. Right? Maybe Venus in Virgo over the next few weeks will give us an opportunity to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit less indulgent, so that we're kind of ready for the holiday season when it comes up. Right? That's maybe a good way to look at it. It's a good time for appreciating the little things. And then Venus is in Virgo is the sign of service. It's not hard to figure out why, the planet of love is not so happy in the sign of the Virgin, right? But it usually indicates a time of service, of kind of uh, giving to the other, of being a little bit more supportive and a little bit less, it's about me. But wait, you say, wasn't that what Venus retrograde was about? Wasn't that whole retrograde that happened in Leo? Was that it was not so indulgent, not so much about me, backing away from. Well, the Venus retrograde was about backing away so that we could understand and appreciate what we really love and enjoy and value. Venus in Virgo is about helping others with what they really appreciate and value. Then she'll go into Libra in a few weeks. That'll be nice. All right, we have a lot of stuff coming up this week. Last week I did not have. If you're a regular watcher, and you should subscribe. Last week I had a big meeting scheduled for the Mercury Neptune opposition on Monday, and I had to cancel it. I could tell that it wasn't going to go right. It turns out that it was all the meetings were canceled that day, or even the other person that I was meeting with. And Mars went over the South Node, and that was really a failure of diplomacy. That's when the House of Representatives removed their speaker for the first time in history in the U.S. And Libra is the sign of the legislature, and the South Node brings out the worst in it. Let's not make a big speech out of it. Last week was quite a week. It was not nearly as active as this coming week is going to be. Not nearly the degree of internal tension as this coming week, but we can use internal tension. Nothing else, use it as a motivator. If something's got to change, that's valuable information. That is valuable information. It's not what's going to happen to you, it's what you're going to create, right? These are the materials that are on the table. Let's see what we can do with them. Sometimes there's lots of Jupiter. Sometimes there's a Jupiter and Venus and everything. And sometimes there's lots of Pluto. This is Pluto's week. You can work with Pluto. You can deal with Pluto. You can make good stuff with Pluto. So do it.